I'm coming to get you. You in the kitchen. In the goddamn refrigerator.
I sure am hungry.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Morning Dinner Podcast. It's your boy, Keem.
And Chuck, what up?
And we host the Morning Dinner Podcast, which is a podcast based out of Las Vegas where we sit down and have conversations with local entrepreneurs, creators, and hustlers. And today we got David Farris in the house.
Yeah.
What up, David?
What's going on,
man?
How you guys done?
So I know you from Instagram as a digital marketing and advertising guru, and you currently work for Planet 13, right?
Correct.
Can you let the people know just real quick, a little quick brief bio about yourself of who you are and what you do and what your day-to-day kind of, entails?
Yeah. So I'm the director of marketing at Planet 13. So that entails managing all platforms, advertising initiatives for Planet 13, Medicine, and Trendy. Those are three brands that we operate right now, and focused on really growing those brands to be the leaders in the industry.
So you handle all the marketing and advertising, right?
Yep.
How long have you been doing that for?
I've been with the company for 3 years. Came on as a marketing coordinator with the initial pitch. Said, "Hey, let me run your social media and grow the brand a little bit." Transitioned to the GM for a while, and then went back to more of a marketing perspective because I knew that that's what I loved. And I started dabbling more design, developing logos, developing graphics, and
okay. So you're savvy. You're kind of savvy in the whole Photoshop,
the creative field, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did I designed the logos for Planet 13, Medicine, Trendy. Really all the branding, the art direction for all those brands.
Do you think that having kind of like a background in Photoshop and all that stuff kind of helped you gain an edge in marketing and advertising because you kind of know a little bit more what to look for?
100%. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of time when you're sitting behind a desk and you know where you want to be, but you don't understand how to get there. Yep. And so I've taught myself really everything I know. Like I went to school for marketing, but the way they do it is it's kind of like, okay, you develop this idea, you develop a strategy, you develop a plan, and then you hand it off to someone to create that flyer for you or create this graphic for you. And to me, that was a head scratcher. I'm like, you can't rely on someone else to do that for you, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you do all this yourself. So, while I was going to school and working and my free time, I was always learning graphic design and developing it. And here we are.
Is that like right away when you went to college, or was that in high school when you started messing with Photoshop and all that?
Around a sophomore in college.
Oh,
I was I'm really into sports as well. So I was a supervisor at UNR up in Northern Nevada. For their recreational gym. And so I ran a lot of their intramural sports and things of that nature. And I kept saying, hey, these students don't know that we have these football leagues and we have this going on or this. We need to do a better job at telling them. We need to get our name out there. I was like, hey, can I spend a few hours instead of like being on the field, helping train people how to referee or make sure the sports go well? Can I just sit in the office and like work on some graphics? And like, okay, sure. Develop a poster, put it up, we get more attendees signing up, then we do this, then we do that. And so I became more of like a marketing supervisor for them. So it was a huge like trial for me because I was basically getting paid to trial, error, and learn and develop that craft.
Man, that's sick. But that's like one of the best ways to learn is just on the job, you know what I mean? Hands on.
Yeah.
So you decided to go down the route of advertising when you were working for the school, right? Kind of like doing their advertising for their soccer team or the football team.
So it was intramurals. So it's basically where everybody who's going to school, they can build a team and play basketball leagues. They can do football leagues. So it's really like for the students. Yeah. So it's for them. If you don't get enough teams signing up or whatever, you don't get those people spending money to the program, and that program kind of diminishes. And that's where they were kind of at is there's not a lot of money going in to fund intramurals. And so how do you grow that, and how do you
hit on something big right now? Because you got that creative aspect of yourself, right? But it's like also like as a creative, how do creatives survive as a business if they don't do the marketing and advertising, right? We always talk about it on this podcast, is that marketing and advertising is like 85 to 90% of the business, right? Like you could be the greatest photographer in the world, you can be the greatest creative or whatever. No one you're not gonna succeed as an entrepreneur, as an artist, or like, you know, kind of financially if you're not marketing yourself, if you're not advertising yourself and letting people know what you do, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty important. That's interesting how that kind of funneled your way into the journey of marketing and advertising.
It really I didn't know, right? I'm just trying to be a sponge and just embrace it and learn it and see where it goes.
Man,
so you work for marketing and advertising for Planet 13. Real quick, what is Planet 13?
Yeah, so Planet 13 Holdings is a public entity. It's a marijuana company. We own Planet 13 Dispensary, which is the biggest dispensary in the world.
The biggest.
Yeah, so it is right now in its current phase 1 is 40,000 square feet, which is pretty insane.
That's already wild.
40,000 square
40,000 square feet.
Is that walkable to the customer, or is that just like the whole entire thing?
There's about like an airport.
There's about 15,000 square feet of offices. So no matter where we expand, that's our flagship location. So we have a lot of people working there who do handle marketing behind the scenes or handle this behind the scenes, right? But we just announced a phase 2 expansion. So the whole building is 112,000 square feet. So through some upcoming phases, we're looking to build to that standard. But we just announced we're building a coffee shop. We're building a restaurant. We're going to have an event space. We're going to have a massive production facility behind glass, so you can see edibles, chocolate bars,
being made,
vapes, all that beverage line, all that stuff being filled and made.
Wow.
Behind glass. So a customer can go up, watch how it's made, learn how it's made,
and then go buy it.
And then go buy it.
Yeah, see, that's really dope.
Yeah.
So it's almost like an educational kind of thing too, like showing you, hey, this is how we're making what you're about to put into your body.
Yeah. So it's more focused on experience. It's built to be an attraction.
Okay.
So in Las Vegas, we have over 50 million tourists coming to Las Vegas every year, right?
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, marijuana is new. They couldn't fathom the fact that marijuana is legal,
right? Because they're coming from a lot of states where it's still illegal, right?
Yeah,
because it's not federally legal, right?
No, it's federally illegal.
It's federally illegal, right?
Illegal. Yeah.
That always tripped me out, how something could be federally illegal, but you could still do it in your state.
I mean, in technical terms, like, you might know this better, but it's like they can still come in and swoop on your stuff, right? To an extent.
Yeah, and there's a fear associated with the industry for that, right? Like that's why it's called a gray market, right? That's they refer to it as that because is it
basically like a swap meet?
No,
you know what I mean?
Wait.
Because that's what I'm saying.
Swap meet a gray market?
I would imagine, bro, because they're selling a lot of things that I'm pretty sure are trademarked. You know what I mean? Like if you go to a swap meet, you could buy a blanket with Mickey Mouse on it. I'm pretty sure Disneyland didn't approve that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're much different than a swap meet.
I don't mean to make that comparison.
No, I know. I would say we're fully legitimized, right? We're a massive company and we're the biggest marijuana establishment in the world, right? And it's a braggable thing, but it's one of the most upscale facilities you'll ever find.
It's beautiful. I was like, wow.
We have to go just to check it out and take it like a little adventure, man.
I actually been, and it's pretty.
Oh, you've been?
Yeah, it's super beautiful. I was like, damn, this is crazy.
Is Planet 13? Is it one story or 2 stories?
One story, right?
Is
now.
it one story? Do you guys have plans to make it 2-story? Kind of like IKEA, how they got a food court upstairs. You know what I'm saying?
Not yet. Yeah, not yet.
That'd be tight.
Yeah. So
I'll give you guys an idea.
We do have some high vault ceilings though, which makes the space it fits really well in the space. But I mean, really, we're focused on like a lot of technology too. So we bring a lot of tech into the space. So we call ourselves an entertainment complex as well. So we have like an interactive LED floor. There's an orb show that takes place on the ceiling while you're shopping. So it's almost like drones. What
about the thing outside where you can like tag the wall?
Yeah, it's like a laser art wall.
Yeah, with the projectors.
Yeah. So at night, we have techs go out there, and you as a customer, you can go out there and actually have a spray can, and it's a laser is attached to it, right? It's a crazy concept.
What?
And you as you click the button, the laser shoots onto the wall. You can draw, hey, David is in Las Vegas. Susie, will you marry me? You know, like the fun stuff, right? That people might write as they're visiting. Take a picture, do all that stuff. Then you press a button on a keypad, it erases fully. The next person comes in line, writes whatever they want on it. When they take a picture, they're done. They press the button, it erases completely. So
that's all done via projection, or is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tight.
That's so tight.
That first installation that was ever done was at EDC a few years back. We saw that technology and we wanted to bring that in.
Well, I think I've seen technology similar to that. Maybe not 100%, but it's at the CSN. You know, CSN has smart classrooms where they essentially have a projector that projects like a whiteboard onto the screen, and then you use a pen. This is like a smart pen that just kind of, you can draw on it.
Oh yeah.
And then it'll draw, and then you could just use you can use the pen to erase the whole thing. Kind of, you know. That's kind of dope though, because it's all based around the experience, right?
Yep.
And that's what Planet 13 is kind of all about. Is about the experience, like you said. You guys gonna have behind glass or behind the glass?
So it'll be behind glass. So you'll basically, the idea is as products are being made, you can see on a big screen or interactive screen, learn about which product specifically is being made right in front of you, learn more about that product, see it being made live, and then hopefully that captivates you, right? And that turns to purchase habits. But either way, we're still producing a lot of products. Those will go for sale in our store and also wholesale into the Nevada market.
Yeah, it's a great thing because experience is what it's all about. It's like when people remember that, they're always gonna go back to Planet 13 because they're like, oh, that's the place to go.
I was having a conversation the other day. I was kind of referencing like the Ethylene factory or Guinness, right? When people go to Ireland and go to the Guinness factory, they see that beer being made, they try it, they see the whole process where the flagship location is, and then when they come back to their hometown, all they want to do when they go out is drink Guinness, right? They're just like, they love that brand, they're all about it. They saw the behind the scenes, they're almost like a brand representative, and for us it's a huge marketing play for customers to really interact with that product and see that product. Damn,
that's so dope. And when are we supposed to be getting the law passed so we can start doing the lounges and all that
consumption?
Yeah,
got pushed back a little bit, but we have some dedicated space, and we're really hopeful. We like the direction it's heading right now, but the gaming commission board and the gaming corridor doesn't allow marijuana in that area, right? So that's why you don't see dispensaries in the hotels and casinos, right? It's because gaming and marijuana doesn't mix. So there's a line drawn, and we're as close as you can get to the gaming corridor. So for us, that's a huge competitive advantage because we know the tourists that are coming in that want to consume marijuana safely, they're going to look to consume it on properties like ours where they can buy it, consume it, enjoy it, and then go back to the hotel or go back safely and sleep for the night or whatever it is.
Damn, that's crazy.
I gotta ask, why specifically did you decide to go towards the cannabis industry versus any other industry? Because marketing is pretty universal, right? It could be used in the cannabis industry. You could go really any way with it. Why specifically cannabis?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love building brands. For whatever reason, I'm just fascinated with the idea of like that entrepreneurial spirit of, hey, this is where it is now. Like, let's take it to this next level. And what I see in the marijuana industry is a lot of brands that haven't really developed yet. It's still in its infancy stage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I don't really see another industry that you can compare to where you can actually build a brand and build a huge following that people are so passionate about and interested about and can talk about hours for. It's something really special and unique, and there's a huge draw for it for me personally. Just the opportunity, I think, a lot as well, and the passion I have for mostly building the brand.
It's a pretty unique field to be in. I mean, I would be a little bit. It's a little exciting, but it's also like at any moment, do you think it can just go away? That whole industry? No. You don't think so?
No. I have zero fear.
Really?
That stuff. Yeah.
Do you feel like it could flatline though after a certain point? But I think that's anything to an extent.
So I think you look at other industries. Yeah. Nevada is a really good market. There's some other markets that have a ton of dispensary licenses, right? You go, it's almost like 7-Eleven or gas stations on every corner. And that's when it becomes a little tough because how do you separate yourself? And that's why we look at creating an experience. So right now we're a massive store. We're going to look to aggressively expand into other locations. they might not be as big as where we're at now.
Right.
But
well, you got to have the main location where,
Yeah.
it's the flagship, right? It's what we're known for. But
Exactly.
but each location will have an experience, and that's what we're so focused on, is just redefining what it means to go into dispensary and purchase products, right? And it's supposed to be fun. Like, you can't. I mean, we cater to medical as well. We try to make the process with delivery and everything as easy and concise as possible. But for a lot of people, I sit back all the time and people watch just in our store. You get a father and son, you get an older couple, you get people who just turned 21, you get such a vast array of people, and they're all so excited about how this is all unfolding, purchasing marijuana. They're looking at pre-rolled joints, they're looking at cannabis infused beer, they're looking at gummies, their mind is blown, right? And it's like that excitement that like really draws me in bringing people to Planet 13.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, what primarily is your guys' demographic? Like, have you noticed there has been like it's usually the younger crowd or mostly the older crowd? What does your demographic on a daily basis look like?
Oh, it's so vast and changing. I'd say at average, I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, we run numbers all the time, and we're kind of dialed in, but it's so across the board, and it skews depending on what's in town. We're very much a tourist market, so we see people who come in town for March Madness. You see the hotel prices skyrocket, right?
Yep.
And you see the city being packed. Well, we're really busy as well.
Yeah.
You know, we're really influenced by when is Las Vegas busy, which is a really good thing, because we're in March, right? The marketing side and advertising side of me is there's 5 weekends in March. There's all these events going on. A lot of conferences and things like that we cater to.
There was a number that I saw recently that was something like it was a crazy number. I'm totally gonna drop the ball on this, but it was something like there's like 58,000 conferences a year in Las Vegas.
Yeah, the conventions are crazy,
like 58.
bro.
I'm not saying it was 58,000 the number that I saw, but it was around that level where I was looking at. I was like, whoa! I don't even think 58,000. Like, there's got to be multiple conventions a day.
Well, you think about it too, because like it's counting little ballroom ones that aren't on the convention list.
Yeah.
You know, those technically count because they're network marketing areas. You know.
Yeah.
So,
have you noticed there's been a specific convention that brings in the biggest crowd?
Yeah,
MJ BizCon.
Yeah, MJ BizCon was huge for us.
What's MJ BizCon? What's that?
It's a big marijuana convention in Las Vegas.
Okay.
I think it means marijuana BizCon. I'm guessing. I think so, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Mary Jane. Okay,
Not
that
Michael
makes sense.
Jackson, bro.
but it was huge for us. That was when we really just opened. I mean, we launched our superstore in November, so I mean we're still fairly new.
It's
right?
in its
And
infancy.
So
right?
every new conference that comes in is new for us. So we don't
Right.
know, like, look, are people going to be pouring through the door, or is it?
So you guys are about to experience NAB for the first time.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought about marketing towards NAB?
Yeah. So
That's a huge conference.
Yeah. So MJ BizCon, we had no idea the amount of publicity we were going to get, because common sense says, right, everybody who follows the marijuana industry is going to hear about Planet 13, want to come check it out.
Right.
We were the only dispensary retail location to have a booth and have all this stuff, be a big advertiser. And so for us, it was like, okay, this is what we're going to start experiencing, is these huge rushes. So we actually changed a lot of our dispensary floor to cater to like large crowds, and when there's big rushes, now we get drops off of huge vans. So now they do tours. Like, people, like tour companies profit off of saying, hey, let me show you the biggest dispensary in the world. Let me show you all the marijuana companies. Let me show you this, right? So people hop on the van and they take them to Planet 13 and get them all excited. And you see tour buses of 20, 50 people pour out, and it's like, okay, line up. And then how do we check them in as fast as possible? How do we cater to them and help them? But we have 42 registers, which is pretty insane.
What does that mean, 42 registers?
POS stations. So like 42 registers.
Oh, like a,
okay,
gotcha.
So 42 bud tenders?
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Well, technically a little bit more because we have
other places too.
Yeah, we have like a host that manages the.
Do you guys have like the Apple Store has like a genius bar? Or you just go and ask questions.
I mean, each one of them is a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've changed it where you can have. So there's multiple types of people, right, that walk on the floor. So you'll see somebody who it's like when you go in a clothing store and somebody goes, "Hey, can I help you with anything?" You're like, no, I'm fine. Like, just leave me alone, right? And you just put your head down and you just want to browse, right? You just want to look. For a lot of people, they kind of just want to walk around, see the facility, and look at the products on the shelves. So what we did is we allowed them to shop on their own. If they find exactly what they're looking for, they can just go and wait in line into an express line, and we'll get all the products for them. We'll take care of all that. But there's a vast majority also of people that would rather wait to have one bud tender help them with a one-on-one experience that they can sit with for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, however long it takes them to ask all their questions, get all the answers, find the products they're looking for. So we have a hybrid setup now, but we originally came from medical market where it was just one-on-one service. But we wanted to keep that. That was still important to us to at least be able to offer that service, and it's still very popular.
Interesting, man. You had mentioned that you have buses that drop people off there at Planet 13. Now I know Sapphire does something similar where they partner up with hotels, and basically they have packages where like if they use a service, they're taken from the hotel to like to the Sapphire location, and then they have the whole partnership where they just bring people, right? How does that work in the industry like cannabis, where maybe hotels don't want to partner up, or do hotels partner up with the cannabis industry, and is it completely like fine, or am I just
they don't partner,
right? Well, like quote unquote partner, but
we do offer a huge amenity. We have two shuttles, two wrapped Planet 13 shuttles that go up and down the strip, go to select locations. We'll pick people up.
Is it free of charge?
13, yeah.
See, that's tight.
Yeah,
that's how you do it.
So if you have a bachelor party, right, with a bunch of your friends and you want to get picked up, we'll pick you up in a shuttle, bring you to Planet 13 free.
But that party has to directly like hit you guys up and ask for it, right? We
make rounds. So we make rounds. So we see a lot of people by pulling into some of these areas and these popular areas where they're like, "Oh, I know Planet 13. I was gonna head there later today.
Can I just
hop in right now?" And it's also like a mobile billboard for us. It's huge exposure from the advertising side of things. But we still wanted to offer that amenity. So as there's tours going on, seeing all the different dispensaries, that's good for us. But we wanted a specific shuttle that we own that can actually cater towards the tourist market. When they call and say, "Hey, I have 5 people with me. Can I get picked up?" "Yeah, we'll take care of you. We'll pick you up right now." We wanted to be able to do that for people.
That's super sick. And going back to Planet 13 as well, like, are you guys gonna start like you said, when you do the whole factory setting, are you gonna start having only your own product in there? Is that like the goal, or is you still gonna have other people's products
in the dispensary?
Yeah.
No, I think the goal is to, of course, carry a lot of our own products.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be staples in our store.
Of course.
But I think a lot of the other brands in the market, they're hugely important.
Because there's so many different types of.
They're really important to our success, though. So I think we've developed a lot of relationships over the years, and we work really well with them, and they'll still be heavily involved with our store.
Okay, that's sick.
But it's a great opportunity for us because we'll have the capabilities to do chocolates, beverages, gummies, where we haven't tapped that market yet with our company. We're not producing any of that stuff right now. So it's just helpful for us to have that in-house brand.
What would be game changing, bro? If you did a cannabis infused pizza.
Wow.
Damn.
That sounds so good right now.
Yeah. It's if you learned and saw the regulations and all that stuff,
you just gotta put it in the cheese.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's why you do the olive oil. They have like the olive oil that you can cook with. That shit's so strong though. It's just too strong.
Have you realized there's been any challenges working in the cannabis industry, like for marketing and advertising versus any other industry?
Yeah, every day is a challenge.
Every day is a challenge.
Yeah, people have no idea.
What's something that's common that you're like, oh?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of regulations that basically inhibit you hitting your target market, right? And that's the whole problem with the way it's set up right now. Is, let's say there's something coming in next week, there's a great opportunity for us to go advertise to this new convention or this new thing. We have to submit that graphic for approval. Where is that graphic going to be handed out? Where is that billboard going to be? Then they have to approve it in an amount of time before that event. So you almost have to forecast your advertising initiatives months in advance.
Right.
And all it takes is for you to submit something and give you barely enough time for it to reach that market. And then they go, actually, you're going to need to change this word to this word.
And that takes another 30 days?
And then you resubmit, and then you wait for them.
So it's all the red tape.
And that's the city, right? Like, this is sending to the city of Las Vegas, or
it's the county and state. So,
Damn.
Yeah. So right now they're inhibiting us saying Las Vegas Strip. There's a rule where you can't have like a marijuana bud, like a bud of marijuana, take over a certain amount of the graphics. It's
like percentage wise. Wow.
Yeah. There's
what about those people that have those cars in the street that go?
Yeah, they won't allow you to.
They won't allow you to do that.
You can't hand out on the strip.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, with any business though?
You can't do mass handouts like that. You
So
literally have to say this graphic, this specific flyer. Let me get this flyer approved. Now you have to get approved. Where are you going to hand that? Who are you going to distribute that to? All those details.
Right.
We have to submit each brand that we create to make sure the logo is approved. Like every little thing that you see is approved. So for us, we have the most wrapped cabs in the market. So I don't know if you've been in the Strip area, but
yeah, I've seen.
You literally can't move down there without seeing what a Plan 13 cab, because we have a lot, most in the market. So little things like that are kind of market disruptors, because it's so hard to be able to do that, that we're really breaking through in the industry.
You mentioned being a disruptor. What is a disruptor for those who are listening and don't know what a disruptor is in the industry? Like what does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's doing things that haven't been done before, kind of paving the way. I would say we have the strongest marketing plan out of anybody. I think it tailors to the fact that we have something really unique and special, and you can't really compare our Planet 13 Superstore to a corner dispensary, right? We're catering to two different markets, but there's also never been anything built like we've built, right? I remember when we first started really pitching the idea and going to the market, people thought we were out of our mind. People were like, what are you talking about? You're going to build, how big is your facility? What are you going to do? You're going to have orbs flying around and a floor that you can step on and it looks like you're walking on water, and laser spray cans. Like, you're crazy. And then there was the other side that was saying, this is absolutely genius. Like, people who smoke marijuana or partake in marijuana are the people who love these psychedelic or cool, fun things. I mean, look at EDC and how they brand and their approach. Not comparing us to EDC, but it's still a very interactive component to it. And we kind of put our head down and believed in what we wanted to do. And we're focused on being a market disruptor and just really changing the landscape, because we didn't like what was normal. Right.
There's a lot of industries that don't like that word, disruptive technology or whatever, because they're so used to their own way of doing things and it's working. And then when you come across something that's disruptive, you're essentially you're challenging them, right?
Yeah.
And you're changing the rules and you're adapting to your market.
And a lot of that credit goes to our co-CEOs. So we have two CEOs in the company, Bob Grossbeck and Larry Scheffler, and they're visionaries. They believe in the plan. They've been, just mostly so committed and passionate about creating something special and unique that nobody could tell them no. And I think I could tell you, times got hard, and just doing some of these things, right? Being a market disruptor, it's kind of like, hey, how are we going to grow this? How are we going to do this? And always had the answer, always ready. And that kind of commitment and just leadership is something I look up to too.
That's dope. Yeah, leadership is definitely everything when it comes to something like this, especially in an industry that's so young too. Like you mentioned, it's not something that's been around for a decade or 2 decades. Like, it just became recreational in Nevada. What was it, like 2 years ago? A year or two?
2 years ago?
something like that.
Yeah, recreational. July 2016.
What do you think lies in the future of the cannabis industry in Nevada? Like, do you think it's gonna become easier to operate, or what are your thoughts?
I think everything's gonna get dialed in, so I think you're gonna start seeing the competition continue to rise. A lot of mass production, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So I think as companies start mastering what they're doing, like I think we are, you're going to see it on a bigger scale. So I think even a lot of cultivation side of things, they're going to start doing millions of square feet of grow.
Yeah. In the same building, or are you just talking about in general?
I'm talking about in general. Yeah. I think we're focused on, we're a very retail focused company, but we also have 2 cultivations, 2 production facilities. We've seen a huge success in our production and our new branded products. So we really wanted to create a massive facility to be able to tailor to that. But I think like you see in like the tomato market, right, where it's massive greenhouses and mass producing tomatoes, you're going to see that transition over to cannabis and those kind of products, because the reality is when you can mass produce and bring the price down, you can control the market.
Yep.
I mean, that's what they're going to try to do.
100%. That's true.
That's how it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's with anything. Like the more if you can be in multiple places at once, you're going to bring in more money. You can lower your costs, right? Because it's going to bring in more money at the end of the day.
And you know what's special about Planet 13?
What's special about Planet 13?
There you go. We control the price. So if you're on the strip, right, as we're locals in Las Vegas, we go to a bar down the street, it's $5 beers. When you go to the strip, it's $13 beers, right? You're down there, it's a special experience. You're around people who are visiting Las Vegas. You come to terms with paying that price, right?
Yep.
Going downtown, hey, it just comes with it, right?
Yeah.
You're on the strip, you could take a taxi 2 miles down the road and get a 12-pack of beer and save $30, right? But instead, you're just going to keep drinking beer at the bars, keep drinking beer downtown. For us, we're in such a significant location where we can control that price. So as prices go down on the market and the wholesale price of flour and edibles and all that stuff, we cater to a tourist market who's going to be visiting out of town. So we have a lot more control in what we do and can actually dictate that a little bit better.
Oh, damn.
So
is your ultimate goal to make everything go up in price or go down in price, or
not necessarily change drastically? I mean, we'll always hover around the market standard, but as you can see from a local perspective, we're gonna go and get a deal, right? If you're local and you're in a neighborhood and you're gonna go on your phone and find, okay, what can I get this for? What price is this? Can I grab this chocolate bar for $12? Or if I go up the street, I can get it for $8, right? You're comparing, you're actually, you're thinking about those decisions. And those are really important to you. Whereas if you're just in town for a weekend, you're just trying to have fun, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, I have friends come in town and they really have a certain amount of money set aside saying, hey, I'm here for 4 days. I have this much money in town. Let's have fun.
Right. They're looking to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I came to spend $5,000.
Yeah.
It's got to go. Like, you know what I mean?
And I can't lie to you. People get like, they get ignorant. They go into the store and they want the biggest joint. They want concentrate in their joint. They want this. What's the most expensive thing you got here? Like, you get those kind of questions, and we cater towards the upscale market.
Right.
But we do see all walks of life.
Now here, let me ask you this question, because I noticed there's been a lot more businesses that do this, where they create kind of like an app, right, for their business, where you can shop on their app, and then they build some kind of it's like a customer experience with the loyalty program.
Yep. Where
you rack up points. For every $100 you spend, you get $5 credit or whatever. Is Planet 13? Do you think they'll ever do something like that along those lines, where you can build a customer loyalty program for the locals who are in town, or are you mostly catering to the tourists and you don't think that's so much as important to Planet 13?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think first of all, a loyalty program of any sort is, if you don't have one, I think you're really messing up.
Yep.
Right.
I think it's very crucially important. For us, we adopted a new system over the past few months where we actually track it by your spend. So we already do have a loyalty program for locals and for people who maybe come to Vegas every month or whatever it may be, right? So that it can get saved for however long you want it to be saved. But for the setup we have is its percentage of spend. So we were doing it tracked on per visit in our previous location, in our previous store. But when we transferred to the superstore, we did it off percentage of spend because we're starting to reward for actually what you're spending, right? And that was a huge step for us. So it's actually integrated with our POS system, so you can actually track that.
Oh,
and
that's tight.
Yeah.
So it's not like a card or anything. It's just like you'll remember the name and everything.
So it's like you come in and purchase. Nice. I go, hey, what's your phone number? I enter your phone number, and you make that purchase. You receive the points, and you can also redeem those as well for
which is crazy because when you implement a customer loyalty program, you kind of get in the way of their decision for where they're gonna go, right? Like let's say I have a Starbucks card and I have a Dutch Bros, right? Punch card. If I have, I got a free drink at Dutch Bros, it's a little further away and Starbucks is right there, but I want that free drink because I racked up those points. I'm going to make the trip to Dutch Bros, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're incentivizing, you're becoming now the middleman on a returning customer.
Yep.
Which is kind of dope.
Yep. And I think nowadays everybody has some sort of loyalty program. I'm sure some marijuana dispensaries don't because I think sometimes they haven't evolved to where the market is just in a general perspective. But I think for us, it was really important for us to track it by their spend and actually reward them. So if you go in there and spend $300, I'm not going to say, here's $5 per visit. No, we want to actually say, because you spent so much, we gave you this much back.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Because I'll say like the stamp cards. That's what I like. You know, when they have like 10 things, I'm like, that shit hypes me up. I'm like, ooh, I got my stamps. And they're like, we'll give you an extra one for spending that much. Yeah. I know it's kind of different because
I'm a marketing guy, so I'm always doing like the math in my head. So I know like, okay, if I buy 10 cups of coffee and I get the 10th free, like, that's actually like I'm really only getting $1. Yeah,
you're not saying.
I always like it's like I'll toss cards, but I actually do that math in my head. But I think not everybody thinks about that, right?
No, it's like you said, it's the experience of feeling that you're gonna get either something for free or you're getting a discount on it. You know what I mean? Like that because I know like what's it called? Farmer Boys down the street.
Yeah,
I think if you spend you got to spend like $65. Every $65 you spend there, you get $5 for free.
Okay.
You know, but it's also like it's incentivizing you personally just go there to eat your food because, you know, you think about every trip's going to be what, $8 to $10, $13 a trip. You have to go 5 or 6 times to rack up your points, right?
Yeah.
Now you wouldn't ordinarily go 5 to 6 times in a month. You'd probably go once every couple months. But if you're working towards a goal, you're more likely to go back there, right?
It's weird though because it's I guess it's just the tangibleness of having a card or like an app where you can see your points, so you feel like, oh, I'm actually gaining something from that. I think it's like psychological almost. Like you know, it doesn't really matter in the end. Like you're saving maybe.
And
once again,
and I have to. One of the other points I forgot to mention: we give 20% off to all locals.
That's
so
dope.
People don't realize.
Can you say that one more time for the people in the back?
Yeah. So it's 20% for all medical patients, locals. So we try to really cater towards them and offer them more discounts. We do like almost like a VIP texting platform. So we'll send specials and promotions per day or big events that we're having where we do 50% off this or this price that, you know, we do some promotions for them. But for us, we got to really think about the marijuana side of things is really touchy for people. So you get people in industries that they're technically not allowed to consume cannabis. And so giving them a card that says Plant 13 loyalty reward member, like they're like, no, I want nothing to do with that. Like they freak out. Like, I don't want to. Actually, I don't even want to purchase. Like, you know, they'll freak out. Like they
really.
I mean, people get really touchy about that because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to get in trouble for a lot of these different things. So we have to always consciously kind of think about that.
Makes sense.
And coming from the medical market, I mean, we were more medical in Nevada first. We had Medicine. It was a dispensary prior. that Medizin turned into a brand, a branded product that now is sitting on the shelves exclusively at Planet 13. But we learned really how to cater towards that specific customer base. So we knew how private that information was, HIPAA compliant, all that stuff, that we really treat each person's identity and customer information really privately.
I gotta ask, man, because I asked everybody who comes on here who's a business or who helps run a business, would you guys ever start accepting cryptocurrencies as payment at one point or another?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Why not?
I think we're a long ways out.
Do you think one day though? Maybe in 20 years.
You never know.
Well, how far away do you think we are, realistically?
I don't think in the next 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you guys will. I think in the next 5 you will.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, because cryptocurrency is not necessarily, I'm not saying take Bitcoin and you guys as a company hold the Bitcoin, but there's intermediary, how do you say the word, bro?
I don't know.
Intermediaries?
I don't even know what that means.
Where essentially people will send you the Bitcoin and automatically your POS will then convert it to USD. So you don't deal with the fluctuation of price.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you guys have that gate for people who maybe are very, very concerned about their identity and maybe they don't want to swipe with the card. Or maybe, it's cash. It's a cash business, right?
So I think, no.
Wait, so
we accept cards too.
Oh, you guys accept cards too?
Yeah,
okay. Because that's been kind of like what I've noticed.
Cutting edge. So we're on another frequency, right? It's hard to compare us to like other dispensaries sometimes, but for a lot of these other stores, it's a timing issue. I think for the crypto side of things with dispensaries and marijuana facilities, I almost feel like the latter states that come in and go legal, if it's not federally legal by that time, then it could happen. I think if it went federally legal, I don't think they're gonna accept crypto.
I think we shall wait and see.
Because it's the banking issue, and that's crypto's edge, in my opinion. But I don't know.
You never know, man. There's a ton of companies, especially in China, that are working on tech right now.
You a big crypto guy?
Pretty big, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Let's
can
not
see
go down this rabbit hole right now.
Yeah. No, I respect it. I mean, I think that it's there. I just, some of these bigger companies have to jump in like us, and I don't know.
Well, it's like you said, because I think crypto is a big market that's a disruptor as well. It's disrupting the way banking happens. Like it completely cuts it out. There's no need for it, right? So my mind just goes a million different ways, thinking how can you incorporate, cryptocurrency into local merchants? Because the thing is, like, maybe cryptocurrency will never be big here in the United States, right? Because we have banking, we have the day-to-day of like, okay, well, if I need money, I go to the ATM, I go to my bank, it's all taken care of, right? Yeah. But it's most important where you go to a third world country where maybe they don't have technology, maybe they don't even have a bank in the county, or you know what I mean? Then it's then it's important. But I don't know, man. You never know. I think people's. I mean, if you think about the fact that we went from a debit card to a debit card that no longer has your information on it, and that's on the chip, so it's less trackable, right? Yep. It shows you a concern globally that there's
now you have your phone and you just go like
right, and now you have your Apple Pay where you don't even need a card. Now everything's encrypted in your phone, so it's like.
You see a lot of crypto in the black market.
In the black market.
You see a lot of them using, so it's not traceable.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like a big reason, and one of the biggest, like, not conspiracy, one of the biggest like things in crypto that make people think bad about it is because it's untrackable. So it's like, everything, only drug dealers and murderers or whatever go on to use Bitcoin. But you think about it, they said the same thing about the internet when it first came out. I mean, there's
still murderers and big drug dealers using cash, like the regular dollar bill. Like, it don't matter.
Yeah.
And they say it's trackable, but let me see you try to track that.
I think it'd be interesting, at least to open up a discussion, because I mean, even if not using cryptocurrencies, I think using the technology of blockchain. Like, what are your thoughts on blockchain?
I'm nowhere near eligible to have a conversation.
Oh, okay. So for those,
I'm the first one to admit when I don't know.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, for sure. No worries.
Explain it real quick though, just for all our new listeners.
Blockchain is just a blockchain itself is not decentralized, which is the beauty of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized, which means nobody holds the authority of it, right? If you have your Bitcoin, there's no one that can tell you that you don't have it, that it's yours 100%. It's decentralized. You don't have to go to a bank to get it. It's yours. Blockchain is a technology that is based on, which is essentially just a peer-to-peer database. It's a ledger, so it's a way of verifying that something exists. Like how do we know that a US dollar exists? Because everywhere you go, there's US dollars. If there's a record for how much of it exists, right? And we all agree that that's worth something because that's what we all agree on.
Value.
We give it the value. So a ledger is just a way of for technology to keep track of things, to say, and it can be used in so many things, from medical stuff to hospitals, colleges. Money is just one aspect of it.
But the whole security side.
But the whole basically like blockchain technology is a really advanced way of keeping everything on record. Like they're using it for they're starting to use it for gaming, to keep all your information on a ledger. They're using it for education, to keep all your transcripts, so you don't have to go through an actual database of like what if a school loses all its records.
Yeah.
You can't lose it on.
How do you feel about the fluctuation of value?
That's something that comes with it being such a new market.
Okay. You think it's leveling out to where it should be, or you think it's
nowhere near where it should
devalued?
Be? It's nowhere near where it should be. If Bitcoin was to be used by as many people that use the US dollar, if one Bitcoin would be roughly equivalent to $1 million. Because there's such a little amount of it. I think there's the original amount that will ever exist in the entire history was $21 million. 21 million Bitcoins. Yeah. 21 million Bitcoins will only ever exist. And I think because of the way when it first came out, the 4 million of them were lost forever. So there's no way to get those back. So there's only 17 million Bitcoins.
How come?
So going down this rabbit hole. So Bitcoin is kind of like, to hold Bitcoin, you need a Bitcoin address. So it's like a wallet. It's like a wallet, right? Yeah, but essentially it's a alphanumerical address with a bunch of numbers and letters. And if you send it to the wrong address that no one has the keys for, like the private keys, which is you have a public key and a private key, and you need both of them to access that wallet. And a lot of people when Bitcoin first started out and they were getting on it, they would mine 100 Bitcoins or whatever, keep it on their wallet, and then they throw away the computer because they forgot about it. Time went by, they threw it away. It wasn't worth anything. It was worth 13 cents. It was worth like 13 cents. They threw it away. That's 1,000 Bitcoins. So there's just a lot of addresses that cannot be accessed, and
so they estimate about 4 million are inaccessible because of those,
because of all that stuff. And it could have been people sent it to the wrong address and nobody knows where that address is at, or it could have been they had it in a hard drive because it's all digital, and then they throw away the computer went bad or something, like so it's quite the rabbit hole there, man.
It's pretty crazy.
But essentially Bitcoin is one of those things that's based on blockchain technology, and we could probably get somebody that's way more into it to talk to you about it, because it's pretty deep, man.
No, it interests me for sure.
But yeah, because you had mentioned price fluctuation, right? The only reason it fluctuates so much is because there's so little people using it. You know what I mean? So it's like imagine if we all had $1 here at this table. There's 3 of us, right? If I threw my dollar away or burned it, the price of that dollar would then go up a lot more because there's less of it, right? But imagine if there's a billion of us in this room. It's impossible, but imagine there's a billion of us and one of us throws away that dollar. Do you think it's going to fluctuate that much? No, it's only 1 out of a billion.
Makes sense.
But if it's 1 out of 3, it's going to go up a lot, right? So that's just the foundation for why it goes up so much.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
But I'll say, going back on to your marketing and everything, thank you, Keem, for teaching us. And teaching all the new viewers. Corner. It's interesting because
Crypto Corner.
I have a friend who does I think his is called Tokes.
Okay.
It's cryptocurrency for marijuana, but I don't know where they're at now. I haven't really kept updated. But going back to marketing, like, where do you see it? Because like social media, you'd say right now is the biggest, not say the biggest, but one of the most newest types of way of marketing, right?
Yeah.
So like past Google AdWords, we were talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and all that. What do you see next? Like, what's in the future for like marketing, like augmented reality, VR, or is it still going to be?
I do think VR is like an interesting component. We actually we had a VR fest at our store, which is just a side note. It was kind of cool where a lot of people did VR. Was
that like stations, or you can like walk around with VR?
So when CES was in town, we teamed up with VR Fest, and so we had a huge event space where we had people competing and doing a bunch of stuff with VR. But it was a really cool experience. But I think what's really cool for people, and it's like, I don't know if you ever going to Coachella, but in the mail you get you get the VR set, and then you put your goggles on and you see what it's like to like walk towards a stage at Coachella, right? You get that immersive experience, and I think that's a huge tool. But I think that's all it is. I think it's a tool, and I think you line up these tools and it creates your kind of tool chest, right?
Yep.
I think learning from MySpace and learning from all these companies that kind of failed over the years, I think Instagram, Facebook, these companies are learning to diversify themselves and prevent themselves from ever going away.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary for me to think about, right? But you see one of the platforms creating something special and unique, all the other ones adopt it, so they're all competitive together. You know, so they rely on each other's innovation, and it's a pretty interesting concept. But I think for us, social media, as new as it is, in more of the new wave, we're really limited, because a lot of the terms of use is, look, yeah, it's legal in Nevada, but if you're in another state looking at your Instagram feed, it's illegal. So what they do is they adopt the route where, hey, you can't promote the sale or anything of cannabis. And so you see a lot of Instagrams getting shut down. You see a lot of things getting flagged on Facebook.
I already know.
Yeah, so it's really tough.
It's rough.
Yeah. But I think first of all, the next step would get all that stuff legit and allow us to post.
So you think when it goes federally legal, that's when Facebook will probably be a little bit more easygoing on it?
Everything will just...
Because it's still going to be illegal in certain countries. Like alcohol, like there's some countries it's illegal. And you can't promote there via Facebook.
I think the fact that everything's kind of split up right now in the country, that's what prevents it. And I think all these social platforms don't want to say it. We allow cannabis. That'll create an uproar.
Yeah, exactly.
As weird as it sounds, because I mean, a majority of Americans want cannabis legal.
Right.
I mean, that's what's crazy to me. And so you get still some of these areas that just don't want it, and that's fine. I think each state should be able to adopt whatever laws they want. If they want to say, hey, we will only want to be a medical state, and they make that decision, okay, they're a medical state, and then 2 years later, if they say, hey, I want to be a recreational state, then become a recreational state, adopt those rules. We learned a lot. I think within the state of Nevada, when we went recreational, I think we did a lot of things right. We did a few things wrong, but I think a lot of other states are starting to learn from each other and adopt some of those rules that really worked well. I mean, it was a lot for them to say, hey, what are the limitations on people buying? Are we going to let them buy as much as they want? Are we going to let them buy an ounce? Like, they had to configure all that. And so it's been really tough on states. But to kind of reroute back to your question, I think some of these social platforms are really powerful, but we haven't really been able to tap into it. We can't do any type of paid advertising on any of this stuff. And that, to me, that's what I'm laser focused on. Is like, let's get us to that level.
It's basically trying to find like the loophole. Is like, how can we market something? How can something be marketed on a social media platform without it actually being paid? So it's like viral videos.
And there's social platforms that are just for cannabis users, right?
Really?
That they're trying to make, right? So
that's kind of smart. Yeah.
So if it's like the Instagram of cannabis, right? So you go on your own, whatever it is, right? But the problem is we're trying to target the general public. We're trying to target people who aren't already our regular customers. We're trying to, adapt new customers and get those people through the doors. Tell people about when they search terms like of what to do in Las Vegas, or like things to do in Vegas, and they hashtag all these different things. Okay, that that creates a trigger, and now we target them. You know, we're adopting some of these really solidified marketing techniques that other industries are doing, and I feel like we're one of the first to adopt that in cannabis.
Yeah.
You know what would be smart, and I don't know how legal this is, but this would be like a way to like get around the system, right? You can't advertise your business that is based around the marijuana industry, so you create a sister business right next door has nothing to do with cannabis, but you get them to come visit that location, and then you just you put the sign physically outside, you know, hey, come over here, and then you reroute traffic.
You know what else you can do? You can build a coffee shop, a restaurant.
That's what I'm saying. Inside. Well, that was originally what I was gonna tell you right now. Like, what if you guys had like a laser tag place inside your place, right? And you advertise that. So
we just announced phase 2 where we have a restaurant, a coffee shop. We have all these things going into our. So it's different suites. But
here's my question: wouldn't that necessarily be inside of your current location, and wouldn't it be under the same kind of license, or is that just different?
Nope,
it's different.
Damn, that's crazy. See, that's where I like those regulations and everything on the city is pretty wild because. And like you were saying, we kind of did it right compared to a lot of other cats, like in other states. Like that's the thing with Vegas. Like they're so strict on stuff. So that's pretty interesting that they'll let you like see it as a different entity inside that building.
Yeah, we're still going through all that and figuring a lot of that stuff out. But I mean, for us, it kind of sounds bad to say, hey, we're looking at loopholes, but we're kind of looking at new ways that we can really grow our business and advertise to a tourist customer. How does someone find out about Planet 13, right? And that's what I ask myself every day. What are new ways we can get in front of them? Sometimes people don't just sit there and Google brand names or dispensaries in Las Vegas and things like that. Sometimes they don't, right? And so from when they get off the plane to when they're going to their hotel room, what are the different outlets that they can be reached? Is it billboards? Is it cabs? Is it, all these different things? And so I think we're very dialed in right now. I think we've really found the sweet point, but I think it's a ever evolving business. We laugh all the time and say it's like dog years. It's like I've been in the industry for 3 years. I feel like I've been in it for forever, but it's a grind because you have to jump through all these hurdles and normal business practices you can't really do in the marijuana industry. So you just have you really have to learn how to adapt and pivot. And I mean, if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to survive in the
because if you're not passionate, you're not going to constantly find ways to innovate and grow the business. You're just going to stagnate, right? You're going to stay where you are. With as many years as you have in your background in marketing and advertising, what tips do you have for somebody who's trying to grow their own brand or like trying to, what advice would you have or things that you found out along your path that have helped you realize this is how you grow a brand or this is how you create a brand?
Yeah. Well, I think, number one, I think it's just passion. Like before even the skill set or before you have anything really tangible, you have to be able to know really the idea of what you want and to be able to say, hey, I'm going to work my ass off to make this happen. A lot of people don't have that to start, and that's why some things fold over.
That's why they fail.
Yeah. But if you have that determination, you have that passion, you need to really see what people are doing around you, things you like about those certain brands and things that you don't like, and build this brand based around, I mean, what sets you apart, what makes you different, what market are you hitting that's unique and different from other people. You can't just say I'm gonna make a Coke brand and go in and just all of a sudden be successful. I mean, there's some markets that are really tough, right? And you got to think logically about some of that stuff. But you have to learn from people who've done it before you too, and I think that's really important. In our industry, there's a few cultivations. I'm not going to name drop any of them or branded products that 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, they were untouchable. They were the best, right? 2 years go by and now we're sitting at this table, and those brands, nobody really talked about them because they got comfortable, and so many brands came into the market. They made a few too many mistakes, and these other brands didn't make mistakes. They didn't allow themselves to make mistakes because they were so passionate on top of things. They live and breathe it, and that's really what sets people apart. mistakes happen, problems happen. I mean,
but not being progressive and trying to think outside of the box, you're going to be held back a shit ton.
100%.
And like you just said, you'll probably fall flat.
Yeah.
And be forgotten. Damn, that's sad. But that's super interesting. Like, so one thing with you, what do you see what do you see yourself doing in like the future? Like,
yeah. As a personal goal, what I try to do is develop really successful brands that hit new markets and have a specialization with a certain product. So I've had the chance to really brand all of our packaging, a lot of our like social media initiatives. I mean, dope. Everything, right? I created the Plant 13 logo and helped build the whole facility, you know. And
going back to that real quick, how'd you when you logo design? Because I do graphics, you know, but I'm not gonna say I'm good at them. You know what I mean? But like,
he's really good.
How do you aim like for logo design and all that? Like, what's your process? Like, do you have anything, or do you just kind of like just keep working at it until it looks good? Or do you go off with the clients?
For me, I find that like I draw like a lot of inspiration, and so like I think it's really important for you to see things in a different way. So I look at logos like all the time. Like I'm obsessed with it, right? I'm looking at some of the best designers in the world and their portfolios, what they do, you know, what they did with the Google campaign, what they did with this, right? All these different flyers, graphics, all this stuff. And I almost like take a mental picture of all these different things and ideas, and I formulate my own. And I think it's hugely important for us to have like the internet and Google and be able to look at the best people in the world and what they're doing, and not only follow the current wave, but see like some new waves that are coming up and being able to adapt that way. But I think drawing from inspiration, seeing other things and finding like a concept and just building off that concept is just hugely important. Because I'm sure you experience it.
Everybody takes inspiration from everything.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
It's like if you're a musician, right? You're drawing inspiration from the people you grew up with or your idols or whatever. Yep. There hasn't been, if you guys saw the first Plant 13 logo or like the first 10
Cowboy
Plant 13
Future
logo,
font.
yeah, it's embarrassing. It's
Did
crazy.
you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you had a process. I thought somebody else did it, and you were like, "Oh, hell no."
Oh no, I did it, and I look at it, and then I'd like pitch it to ownership, and I'd talk about it, and then I'm like, no, that's not the one. That's not the one. Go back, do it after weeks and months of doing multiple different designs. Because for me, that's still in my adolescence design phase, right? I'm not masterful yet, you know. I'm not whatever. So I'm like, it takes me a lot of going over and over again,
right?
But
like step back from
so many different concepts, so many different variations in every logo that I do. It's just a process.
Because there's some people I see on like Behance, like they use like the fucking Fibonacci theory and shit or something, like diagrams and angles and all. I'm like, whoa, is it that complex to make a logo? And I sit there, I'm like, I want to try that. Just one time. Like,
have you done it?
Can you explain that real quick? What the hell is a Fibonacci?
I don't think it's Fibonacci. What's
it's like when all
like
the circles,
the
circles fit inside of each other. I don't know what it's called, but it's basically like
a scientific way to visualize something. If something's visually pleasing to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, nuts. I was like, is it that?
But I also
crazy?
think what happens, I don't want to say people like embellish, but I think
that's what I think they do. I wanted to do that to be like, yeah, look, but for me, precise my logos.
What was transcendent for me is I used to like do logos and I never know how to like communicate that, or I do packaging. I never know how to show people like, hey, look how cool this is. And it was always like a letdown. Like I'd work 50 hours on this one logo or this one product or whatever it is, and I'd show them and it didn't really look that good. So it took a while for me to develop, how do I show this product off? Like, how do I show this finished product or use it in a real life scenario? So not only am I showing you a logo, I'm showing you what this looks like
on a shirt,
on a business card, on whatever. It looks realistic. Like I show people, hey, is that real? Is that, did you print that already? Oh, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it really helps people visualize it. And for business owners, it's huge for them to see the logo that you just made them and then what it's going to be in real life. Yeah.
And it's funny because I learned that the hard way. I was like, damn, like my logos keep getting smacked down or my graphics. But then when I like did like the business card, a t-shirt and some other things, like what it'll look like when it's conceptualized onto actual products, they're like, oh, that looks great. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, we did a recent billboard campaign for Planet 13, and it's really just it has a pop out on top, right? So it says the logo like really popped out, so you can see it a little bit offsetting with the sky or whatever you see. I don't know. Have you seen it yet? Have you seen the? It's on the 15th.
Okay, so you guys do have a billboard, right?
We have billboards.
Because I think I did see it. Yeah.
Okay, so
but it's a cutout one, right?
Yeah. So it's all red background, and it's focused on just like quick bold phases,
and just
like phrases. 13.
So
it says like there's always a first time, and so it's like what the hell is that, right? And so while you're driving in, you Google Planet 13, and you're like, oh, this is a marijuana superstore, like this is crazy, right? And it's about grabbing people's attention. But when I first went to pitch that idea of me saying, hey, red background, white text, there's always a first time, it's like, okay, whatever. And then you mock it up in a real life scenario, you see it on that's actually, that could work, you know? And so it's also about presentation and learning. And that took me a little bit of time. I think a lot of trial and error, but it came a long way.
Do you have to explain to them too, like what people might think as well? Like when they see that, kind of like what Gary Vee said when he was like, if I did a Super Bowl ad commercial, he's like, I'll literally say the company's name for the 30 seconds. So it'd be like McDonald's. Cause he's like, most of those ads you see, you forget the brand.
Yeah.
Because they're so intricate, too much is going on. He's like, I'd literally just have a person saying that. I was like, damn, that's kind of genius. You know what I mean? No matter which way you look at it, I was like, I love very simple marketing, but it hits so hard. Like what you just
we did print ads to pair with the billboard, and it was just a red page with just a bold text that said like
why red?
What?
Why red?
Because
that's a part of our logo. It's a part of our branding.
But why did you pick red? Because when I think red, I think of Mars.
Yeah.
Unexplored territory.
It's attention grabbing like a motherfucker.
We wanted just to be bright and bold and powerful. Our other logo was really green and medicinal, and I think it was just almost like the opposite.
Yeah. I think green is very, very common for the cannabis industry, man. You know, if you think about it, like it's kind of like how any photographer has a camera in their logo name. Like it's just, I think it's played out a little bit.
I think if you do look at it too on the color scale, I think it's like red, yellow, and then you have like green.
Wait, are you talking about like what your mind thinks and the way it makes you feel?
Yeah, that's why if you look at logos, Jack in the Box is red, McDonald's is yellow, Burger King is yellow and red.
Well, there's an actual chart that tells
complementary
you
colors.
Yeah.
And what's the most attention grabbing ones and whatnot?
Yeah.
Red and yellow.
Yeah.
You think McDonald's, right? That's the biggest company in the world. Like,
yeah,
it's the most attention grabbing.
But that's why I like red, because like you said, like it's gonna blue sky red.
Wendy's is red. Jack in the Box is red.
Mm-hmm. I think every big company kind of knows that to an extent. I guess Bud Light's blue.
Yeah, and you get a lot of corporate companies with blue, and industries have their own color scheme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's, going to school for me, like, I just remember in marketing classes just talking about, color schemes for these, for more, for pharmacies, it's these color schemes. For corporate companies, it's this color scheme. Food is this color. And it's like, okay, next topic. I'm like, wait, that's really interesting to me. Like, I want to learn more about that. Yeah. And so I kept wanting more, and that's what really got me interested. Like conversations like this and understanding design and paths. And I learned everything through YouTube.
Well, there's also
YouTube.
Yeah.
Me too.
Always.
As YouTube University, there's also a website called Cooler. Kuler.
Whoa, never heard.
It's from Adobe. You essentially pick a color, and you can pick either the two complementary colors. You can pick 5 different. I forgot what they're called, but it's kuler.com for anybody who's doing any logo design. You can go on that website, and if you're creating your logo using a certain color, you can find what other colors around it help make it pop, and are just complementary. They have a whole bunch of different ways.
Even in Illustrator too, like if you go to swatches, you can see like the different type of they have like all these different, like one for business, and they'll show you multiple Pantones or whatever they're called, and they'll be like, these are
Pantones.
Is it Pantones?
It took me a long time to transit. I started with Photoshop. It took me a long time to transition to Illustrator.
Illustrator's
and I'm still transitioning.
Fuck, it's so hard. It's like I can do so much in Photoshop so quick.
I can't do Illustrator.
I'm like, okay, how do you do this again? Like, but it is like where it's at.
And then when I first was learning, it's like, Photoshop is squares and illustrators and lines and this. I'm like, okay, that doesn't mean it has to be this hard. Like, why is it?
Like, why is it so different? Like, why'd they make both platforms so different in like the tools and shit? Like, you guys could have kept some of the things kind of the same. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's a complete flip.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same. I'm like, God damn it.
To be honest, like the logo design is the hardest for me because like Illustrator based things, we work closely with a print company when I first came online. One of our owners also owns a print company, and it was a huge learning curve developing things for print. And I was lucky enough where I kept, well, not lucky, but I kept sending things in wrong, right? And then one day they're like, hey, look, let me sit down with you and show you how to do this
that's tight.
properly. Like, you got to send in this file type. You got to do this. This is the reason why you're doing this, right? Somebody actually sat down, showed me for a few hours, and I was like, okay. Change my whole strategy, change the way I'm building things. Because if you start wrong, it's hard for you to send in a finished product correctly. You know, you can't build something in Photoshop and then just be like, okay, let me prepare this. Let me turn this into a logo on Illustrator. That's it's, you know, it's not.
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't
not
work.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Well, because Illustrator is vector, right? It's vector based. What's vector based, Chuck? You know.
Vector it just doesn't lose quality. Like it's instead
scalable.
Instead of pixels, it's like triangles. So I don't really know what that means, but I know if you like zoom in really close, it reads a little bit better, and it doesn't lose any resolution.
So
right?
you can scale that image. So like the whole idea is if you want your logo that's a vector on a business card, or you want it on a billboard, it'll scale with that.
Why can't Photoshop do it?
Here's my
That's
question.
what I'm always asking.
Well, why isn't Photoshop vector based? Why is it so different?
It's a lot of retouching and like changing. So it's like you bringing in it, like you deal with photography, right? It's like you taking a photo, putting it in Illustrator, now try to manipulate that photo in Photoshop.
Yeah. Okay. So you're essentially saying there's two different applications for two different purposes.
Yeah, they serve different purposes. Right. And when you're new, you don't know where to draw that line, and that was really hard for me. I was starting to develop things incorrectly for that.
So do you like, let's say you do like something with an image with graphics based in, so you like based in it. Do you do the image clone stamping and all that in Photoshop, and then you like smart image it into Illustrator, and then do all the graphic parts and all that?
See,
that's too much for me.
For packaging, it's rare that I use an actual image based. I have a little bit of a different style type of I use a lot of different textures and like embossing and all that stuff, like just really having that connection with the print company.
Hold on real quick.
That damn dog is loose again. Here, give me the remote.
You know how to change it?
Yeah,
just these 3 buttons, right? In 1, in 2, in 3. All right, cool. My bad. You're good. Keep going.
So like for me, I don't really use a lot of images on packaging and things like that and preparing for print. And to me, I can export out as a PDF, and whether it's graphics or anything like that. So, but I've learned a lot, man. It's a lot of trial and error and a lot of frustration.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of work, man. To be honest, I'm glad I just use Photoshop. What's my angle? Here we go. For those who are just listening to the audio version only, there we go. And you are one. Oh, that's Chuck's angle. My bad. Boom. Got it. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm lucky that I only do Photoshop-based things because I don't have to deal with any of that. I don't worry about vector size. Like, my images are a set file size. Yeah. And I work in Lightroom. Have you ever used Lightroom before? Lightroom, and then I round trip to Photoshop and then back and forth.
I made myself have a baseline knowledge of every Adobe.
Really?
Or most of them.
What do you think has been? So has Lightroom been the most challenging program for you to use?
3D rendering software.
You use 3D, like 3D Studio Max.
Cinema 4D.
Okay.
Yeah. Like once you touch like the 3D side of things, it's like you think you're frustrated off of other things.
What have you been working on in the 3D space?
Oh, just a lot of like abstract, messing around with just some different ideas and concepts. what's pretty neat is the idea of using 3D objects to create actual products and manipulate those, even if for like a commercial or photos or anything like that. I'm not near that yet, but that's the idea, is building like a vape pen in 3D software, and then you can manipulate that actual vape pen and have it explode or do, you can change all these different things. It becomes where you're not limited by a camera and that finished product, right? You can actually you could turn that vape pen into actual liquid and it fall, you can do all these cool different things. But for me, it just started off by just messing around with just a lot of abstract and cool things. I have a lot of people on Instagram that I follow just that are like 3D based and
like Beeple and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're so amazing. I want to get into like Cinema 4D and all that. I use Element 3D and Blender because it's free. Yeah. Well, not Element 3D, but Blender. And it does really good. It does a super good job in like manipulating like product stuff and all that and putting it on.
You get frustrated with it?
Yeah, because it's a new learning curve completely. Because I do After Effects too and all that. Okay. And that's a whole new learning curve as well.
I think that was the first time where I'm like, okay, I really need someone who knows what they're doing to just say, hey, David, this is how to get to that step.
Masterclass.
Because I need it if I really want to get into that more. That I have to actually learn from someone.
It's crazy. That shit's so wild.
Real quick, back on track to the whole brand, because we were talking about branding earlier.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on companies who are giving their brand personality, right? Like you've seen like Wendy's on Twitter or things like that. Like, what are your thoughts? Do you think that's something that every brand should do, or do you think that's a very niche thing?
Real quick before, there's like that sun thing hitting your face right now.
Oh, is it? Oh, snap.
Hold on real quick.
It's all good. For those who are listening to the audio only version, we usually record these episodes at nighttime, but it is daytime right now. It is about 4 in the afternoon, 4:30, 5:30 in the afternoon, and the window here in our studio is leaking light into my face, which is fine. Is it that big of a deal? Is it? Should I move? If I move, I'm out of frame.
It'll be fine.
Technical difficulties.
I think you're good.
It just looks funny on the thing.
All right, so back to the question is these brands who have these kind of like personalities, right? And I'm sure there's more than just Wendy's. Wendy's is just the last one that I remember, seeing online. They actually retweet people who talk like crap, and they'll like be witty about it. You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts about something like that?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a really cool engagement tool. I think any sort of like huge corporate companies that engage with people on the higher level like that, but is just interesting to people. Like, it's funny, right? If someone's talking shit to Wendy's saying, hey, your burgers suck, this is whatever, and they have a clever response, they blow up, and it's huge branding. It's free marketing.
Because sometimes I see like Wendy's roast somebody, and like, oh, at least we're not a Baconator or something like that. Like, and then I'm like, oh damn, now I want a Wendy's burger. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of influences my decision a little bit more.
I think you got to have someone really. First of all, I think you got to be a bigger brand. I think if you're a small brand and you're just roasting people, I think it like looks bad.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If I'm sitting on my phone and every time someone says something bad about Planet 13, I just start going off on them. I don't think it would be the same response as Wendy's.
Right.
But I think because they're at such a massive level that they can actually have fun with it. Because when you think about Wendy's and maybe it's just I think about this from a marketing side, but I think of like massive rooms of people on their computers just responding to people, right? I think it's just like a social media farm, right? Where they're just responding. So for them to have personality and a voice is like, oh damn, I didn't expect like Wendy's to say something like that. I think that is special and unique
because it adds a human touch to it. It's not like all like, oh, come get our special today, and it's just like, oh, that's so robot-y.
Because everybody says, hey, like, oh, they're so big, like they don't care, they're not gonna respond to little things.
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna be honest. I hate being advertised to. I hate when it's like, oh, come to our place, we have this. Like, I'm not going. You know what I mean? What do you think are some like good marketing tips for how to market your business without coming off as too selly? What do you think?
I think having a voice, it's something I think a lot of people have learned even when they're growing up and writing essays and papers, right? It's like actually talk who you are, actually share people who you are. And I think that's something important for a lot of these businesses is sometimes they don't know how to be that, and they come off really corporate and too professional. I think industries matter. For us, like, we like having fun, right?
Right.
For any, we like doing like little clever lines, right, about certain things or responses here and there. But we're also about being in the marijuana space and making marijuana fun. So it adheres to us. When it comes from an advertising perspective, you always want to stand out, but stand out in a good way. And sometimes that's towing the line a little bit tough. So I think every situation is different. But in my mind, it's always to do something unique and be clever. When something's clever, you never look at it like pissed off, right? You're never, you don't like being advertised to, but if something's clever, you kind of respect it. You're like, okay. Yeah. You're like, okay. Like,
if something makes me laugh or something gives me an emotion without it coming off as like, oh, come buy our thing because we have it, then I'm more likely to buy,
And that's huge right now, is building emotions off people, because right now you see people on their phone, on Instagram, and they're just scrolling, seeing a picture and scrolling, right? But if you can actually have them stop on your photo, feel an emotion, and engage with that photo or engage with your profile, it's a huge win. And a lot of this stuff is still uncharted territory for some companies, but I think gearing towards emotions and building those storylines are huge.
Very true. Let's talk marketing trends.
Yeah.
What are marketing trends that you've seen that you'd like to speak about?
From a visual side, I think, I always talk about Instagram's logo and like going to gradient, and now like everything's gradient. It's just funny how it created a trend. But I think you're seeing a lot of 3D in the space. You're seeing a lot of brands that are really focused on a multitude of things. So you see bigger corporations or companies have a portfolio of brands that cater to all different sorts of markets, right? So it's like when you go buy a soda or when you buy any type of product and you look at that label, then you realize, okay, this one company owns these 30 companies. Yeah. And I think that's becoming a trend, is not to have one brand have 30,000 product. It's to have multiple brands carry different products. And I think that's something new in the marijuana space as well, is people developing like a gummy line. They're not going to all of a sudden have a flower line, right? Or a concentrate line. They're going to stay with that niche product. And I think that's something new in the marketing side for cannabis that's really being tested right now.
So you feel like they should focus on one product, or do you feel they should start going out to different types of products?
I think they should have an area of focus. Yeah, I think when you for marijuana products, if you're popular as a beverage, right? And I don't want to name drop any names. You shouldn't be going into flower, right? You shouldn't be saying, hey, this is this brand in cannabis flower. I think you should focus on that specific product line.
But you could technically create a whole nother product and name it something else that's focused through a different type of company, or are you just literally saying like just go 100% on your product?
No, yeah, I think you should have different brands for different product focuses.
You can still own all of them, but just market differently.
Kind of like Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Don't they own like the conglomerate, like they own potato chips,
like Dasani? They own Dasani water. You're not going to see Coca-Cola water.
Yeah, or Coca-Cola chips.
Yeah. Got it. I see what you mean.
And I think there's just so many brands launching out on the marijuana side of things. Everybody wants to be that one staple brand, and so what they're doing is they're trying to double down on their brand. And I share a different vision. I share each brand should have their own product focus, and I think that's going to be a huge trend coming on the marijuana side of things. And I think gearing towards a recreational focus of normalizing cannabis, I think won't go away anytime soon as a trend. Everyday people, even soccer mom to someone who is a couch potato, to someone, all these different sorts of lives, right? Everybody consumes cannabis. A lot of people do. And it's a normal thing. So it's okay to feel normal about it. So you mentioned olive oil earlier, right? Yeah. People are making pizzas with olive oil that is infused. Now there's cannabis infused beer. So people are in their backyard grilling up steaks, drinking cannabis infused beer. People are hanging out instead of just gummy bears. It's evolved a lot,
right?
And a lot of that evolution is tied to lifestyle association.
So do you think that's a way to normalize the cannabis industry as well? You know, so that way it doesn't feel like, oh, it's just, oh, you're smoking weed. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to looking at it that way, you're looking at it as like, oh, you're drinking a beer that's either CBD infused or THC infused. You know what I mean? You think that's a way that we get the public to kind of change their perspective on the industry?
Yeah, I think that creates the wave. I also think consumption lounges, we talked about a little bit earlier, is when you get Las Vegas, right, adopting a huge consumption lounge or multiple consumption lounges where in the future people can go and consume and hang out and have fun and do all those things. It's like, okay, in Las Vegas they're doing it. Why can't we do it in our city?
Right.
Why can't we do it in California?
Kind of like the way a hookah lounge works, right?
Yeah.
It's a social gathering place where people can just go and you know, partake in whatever, you know, either hookah or THC.
Because right now a lot of people are consuming. Well, you have to consume in a private residence right now, so people are going to buy product, going home, smoking in their house, and it's kind of like the grungy aspect because you can only do it in your home. Right. You can only smoke or take an edible technically in your home. It's
those baby steps of like, okay, it's legal now, but it's like, okay, well now you can only do it in your room. Yeah. You can't do it in your living room, and then the next thing is like, well now you're home, or now you're in your county. You know what I mean? So it's definitely those baby steps that, you know, are gonna help.
And I think it's strategically preparing yourself for all this stuff. I mean, I don't think it's a question if, I think it's a question when, and I think it's gonna happen very, very soon.
I can't wait because this is gonna be exciting what everybody does, especially you guys. I want to see what you guys do.
Yeah.
What is it? A weed nightclub?
Yeah.
Like, that'd be crazy.
A lot of different ideas floating around, and I think it's a huge competitive advantage for you to be able to offer marijuana at a club or a lounge of any sort.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it changes the game. But
are you guys gonna have
we're
a
on board.
pool in the future? Do like a pool,
a weed pool.
Yeah, we talked about a possible splash pool out there.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I mean, our location is I mean, it's really next to the heart of the strip.
Yeah.
So if we're overlooked by tens of thousands of hotel rooms. So people tell me all the time, I laugh about it, is they look outside their hotel room, they see a big glowing red planet with mist coming out front, and they're like, what the hell is this place? What is it? And they're telling me, hey, gold red ball, mist ball, right? They don't know, like, they're like, what the hell is this? And they almost are drawn towards it. They leave, they walk down, they go walk towards the place, and like, oh, it's a marijuana store. Like, you know, we wanted something that had a staple out front of our property, you know, where people take photos in front of, people share. And that's a huge part of our business is shareable moments. People take selfies walking on the LED interactive floor.
Right.
I mean, just the other day, someone was dancing on it, filmed like a whole routine dancing on it. And like,
well, like you said in the beginning of this podcast, it's about the user experience, right?
Yeah.
And how you make those people feel. And through that experience, I think you build brand loyalty and kind of like that, you know, because when you share a connection with a brand, you don't necessarily think about, oh, like, well, okay, well, what's the price on it? Well, this place is a little bit cheaper, let's go there. You're more concerned about like, oh, do I care about this brand? And that kind of influences your decisions, right?
Yeah. And we're not going to just, when we say like, hey, we'll have a coffee shop, I mean, of course it'll be non-marijuana consumption, but we're not going to just build a normal corner coffee shop. I mean, it's going to be a badass coffee shop, you know,
unique.
It's going to be a cool concept. So we're going to it's almost a greenhouse concept. So I mean, it definitely goes along the lines of a cultivation or a marijuana facility, but really upscale, really elegant. Talking about doing some different prints on top of like lattes, and you see all that stuff, right? The new trends and the new waves. So what's unique about us is we're hitting so many different markets and so many different industries with coffee shop, restaurant, event space. I mean, people are already hitting us up about weddings and corporate events and doing all this stuff.
Damn.
I mean, it's
crazy.
It's getting pretty crazy. It's getting nuts.
So something that me and Chuck always talk about is the old school versus the new school. For example, like, you know, a filmmaker, right? Like, what did it take to be a filmmaker back in the day? Maybe you didn't necessarily need to even own a camera. Maybe you were just the director and you just had to have that visual mindset, right? But nowadays we live in 2019, where if you want to be a filmmaker, you need to own your camera. You need to shoot your own videos. You need to storyboard them. You need to be able to edit them because sometimes you're a one-man crew. You need to be able to do visual effects because now movies aren't necessarily just film. Maybe now they add visual effects to it. What do you think should be in the skill set bag of somebody who's trying to be a creative director or marketer in 2019? Like, what do you think are some essential skills that they should have in the tool bag?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think you need to, first of all, be business savvy. So you see a lot of creators not understand the structure of a business and how to run a business properly. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge fault for creators in general. A lot of people who are inventors and creators of that are extremely talented don't know how to transition that into profit. First of all, I think that mastering the two sides of creativity and business is a challenge, but it's something that you need to try to develop to get better at. But I think the ability to be able to not only speak your thoughts, but visualize your thoughts and put that onto paper or put that onto a screen is really important. So if you're trying to pitch an idea or you have an idea of something to change, I think it's really important for you to be able to change that and show them, say, hey, something like this. You don't have to master it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can have someone that can perfect that for you, but you need to be able to translate that somehow from and a lot of people don't know how to have a creative thought and put that onto in a physical way. And I also think it's important for you to want to develop that brand further. So I think as a creator, there's one way to create a brand, right? And then there's another way to build the brand. And that's through evolving and evolution, understanding trends, understanding what's next, and being involved. And so I think when you understand the business side of things, you understand what's next and all that stuff, then you can really master that craft because you're focused on how to build it and how to grow it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I'll even add a little bit more to that because it kind of goes into every field, not even just marketing, but also like being a photographer, being an artist, communication. You need to learn the art of communicating your vision to other people, because if you don't know how to communicate what's in your head, it doesn't matter how great an idea it is. If you can't get other people to see it, then it's not going anywhere, because it takes more than just yourself to create a brand. Like it's more than a one person band, right? You can never do everything on your own. You have to work with other people, and the number one thing to working with other people is communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and understand how to delegate too. So as you become a graphic designer and you're a really good designer, when you become an art director and you oversee a group of designers, how do you delegate those crafts, or how do you delegate, hey, how do you communicate? How do you do all those different things? Because for a lot of people, that growth is new, and so they're used to just saying, hey, I want to develop a logo that looks like this or whatever, and they go and develop it, but they don't know how to tell someone to develop it or give them proper direction. Right.
And also getting whoever you're delegating to feel as passionate as you are.
Yeah.
Right. It's a whole like,
it's a learning game.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a learning game.
It turns into almost leadership, and I mean, there's a lot of qualities that you have to encompass to really lead a team.
Yeah.
And to lead creatives, it's a whole different monster. I'm sure you guys see it all the time. You have a podcast designated for creatives, and you see all these different personality types.
Oh,
you put them in one room, and then you try to get them unified under one goal. Sometimes really challenging.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason that is because, especially in the creative field, everything's very personal, right? If you have an idea for something and somebody wants to change it a little bit, then it's no longer your idea. Then you're not as passionate about it. Then they're infringing on your territory. So it's definitely an art form to be able to be a creative and also be in business, right?
Yeah. You
have to understand that your idea, unless you're trying to be like the next Picasso and do everything on your own and nobody's opinion matters, and if you're working with a team, you need to understand that you guys have to be on the same page as far as what your end goal is, and that everybody's opinion matters, right?
Yeah, and I don't think you can ever compete. If you're one person, I don't care how talented you are, you can't compete against a team of creatives. Yeah. I just don't think it's possible, and that was really hard for me to learn that in the beginning, because I would spend hundreds of hours on a brand or on a logo and all these different things. I'd wait really eagerly to hear I mean, is this good? Do you like it? Do you don't? And then you start changing it, and it's like, it's so easy for them to say, change that, change this. And I'm seeing like my life flash before my eyes. Like, I spent so much time on this, and it's just one little change. But you know, those fresh eyes and seeing somebody from a new perspective and some of those things, I've learned to really embrace that, because once you stare at something for so long, you end up, you put too much emotion into it sometimes, and it's important for you to draw a line and have people around you that you can trust, that can actually look at that finished product and say, you know what, like, I know you're going for this, but I would tweak this right here.
That's the thing right there, what you said, that you trust.
Yeah.
Because when you have somebody who kind of just comes in with no constructive criticism and doesn't really have like, okay, why should it be changed? And this is why it should be changed, because I feel it dictate this emotion, you know, instead of just being like, oh yeah, you should make it pop more. I hate that. Yeah. I'm like, what does that mean?
And some people don't even know how to communicate that, right? Like, they just say, hey, and it just doesn't wow me. Or like they say,
it needs to tell a story. Like,
what do you mean? So what should I change? You know, and sometimes those people don't have those answers, and now it's your job to say, okay, their reaction to it was almost of a letdown. How do I make this wow them again?
Which is like a little challenge. It's like putting the game on hard.
It drives me, and it makes me obsessive, and it drives me crazy. But I've learned to channel it to make me better. And that's hard.
It's also, as a creative, you know, if somebody gives you direction of like, oh, well, I don't like it, let's change that. If you can communicate why you made the decisions that you made and why you made it that way, maybe you can get them to see your point of view and kind of, you know, get them to understand that perspective, as opposed to like, because if you're a creative and you're okay with, oh, well, you know, whatever, I'll just change it. But if you can defend why you made why you made it the way it was, you know, it also helps them a lot more, you know, because you're also educating your client, or educating
they're getting educated on
exactly. I think you should always defend your work, but there's a point where if it's your client or if someone who really matters, and you almost get in the convincing phase, you messed up. And
you have to you have to defend your actions, but don't sound defensive.
Because if you ask me to make a logo for you, right, just as an example, and you're like, maybe you should change this, and I try to tell you, well, I did try that, but this is why I did it the other way, and you're still not feeling it. At the end of the day, like, the product's also for you, right? And so it has to wow you. You have to really be comfortable with it. So if I get really defensive or say and try to keep convincing you, it doesn't do any good, right? At the end of the day, you don't get more, you don't get happier from that result. So sometimes, I mean, creatives don't know how to swallow their pride sometimes, and
gotta drop that ego.
But you gotta, you gotta.
It's tough sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, okay, we can try it, but I'm telling you, it's gonna look like shit. But I'll do it, and then we change it, and then they're like, oh yeah, change it back.
I kind of love that though.
Yeah, I'm like, well, now you trust me more, hopefully, after that. But some don't.
I will say this, like, one thing I've learned as a videographer and photographer is when you're working with clients, sometimes they'll give you a thing where they're like, I wanted to do this and that, and it's like, you in your head as a creative, you're overthinking it. You're like, well, then I got to do this, I got to do that. You're putting 1,000 steps ahead of you, when maybe all they're really asking you is to move it a little bit to the left. That's it. That's it. You know, but you're overthinking, like, well, no, I got to rebalance this whole thing. Like, so we as artists always tend to overthink things, you know, when sometimes that client thinks very, very simply.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough where my dad owned a small business, so I learned almost the business side of things, how to run and operate a business. What does it take to be like a small business owner first, and then got interested in the creatives while I was going to school, and so I was almost like a business minded first. That's good. it helped transition me a little bit better, I think, in understanding like the end goal. Like, the end goal is to, whether it's a brand or a logo, whatever it is to create a really good finished product and make a successful launch. And and so it always roots back to like, okay, is this going to be profitable? This is going to bring in revenue? Is this whatever? And I'm really good at thinking it from that perspective, and I think that's a little bit more unique, because a lot of creatives become really talented in their creativity and design and doing that stuff, and then they get into business later in life, and
then that wall's just shut.
And like Keem said at the beginning, a lot of people don't have that business side, and it does. A lot of good talent is just chilling out there, probably at home, working a regular job, you know. So anybody who's listening, like, learn the business side. Like, you don't have to become a fucking scientist on it and like go deep into it, but just learn the basics because it'll push you forward.
Learn how to send an invoice, damn it. Just kidding.
People don't though. People don't know how.
No, man. There's a lot of creatives who don't understand.
Some people don't even know how to pay taxes.
Yeah, taxes, they don't understand.
I can't lie. I learned a lot of that in the past like 5 years. Like,
remember when we were first figuring out like what's an LLC, what's a EIN, like
bro,
what
like,
the hell?
I just finally in the past 2 years learned how to like, oh, I have a business, I can write stuff off. Oh, this is how you can like save yourself from 1099s fucking you know, with those big taxes because you have to pay your taxes. And it's like, oh shit, like you can do your miles, you could do, but nobody tells you this. No, schools don't tell you this unless you have a family member or somebody in society who hopefully tells you that. That's you're good, because like that's the one thing I always tell them. That's why I hate on Facebook how people rant and shit. I just wish somebody would have been like, have you heard of a Roth IRA or a CD ladder? Because I would have loved to know that, you know. And I know homies who have it. They're like, oh yeah, I've already been doing that. I'm like, damn, I wish
100%.
You could let me know.
Knowledge is power, man. I never understood that growing up as a kid when people said knowledge is power. Like, oh, so I just got to read books. And like, I didn't understand what people meant by read books, because like they would always say like, oh, if you read a lot, you'll be, you'll be more successful. But I'm like, well, if I read Harry Potter
that's what I thought.
It's not going to do you any good, right? But you have to, what they meant is not when they say knowledge is power, is when you learn things that are not taught to you in school, like doing your taxes, finding loopholes for starting your business, or like, you know, like how you were saying how you could do things that bring you back money at the end of the day. Those things help you, you know, and a lot of people that are creatives, they don't learn those things because it's not taught in school, and the roadblocks, right? They stop them from doing it.
And I think for me, I always had a strategy in school, and I didn't know if it was the right strategy, but I always knew I knew the information, right? And I wasn't diehard. I wasn't going 110% on school all the time, but I was going 110% on things that I loved, like things that I was passionate about. Right. And so I would go to school. I mean, once we started going into topics that I wasn't that interested, I would tune out and start focusing on things that I love. And it almost held me back to a certain point. Went to college, learned how to hone that in, and now it's turned out really successful for me, because I spent so much of my free time focusing on things that I really actually enjoyed and loved, and that's what I'm doing now, right? And so I think what's hard for people is when they spend so much of their time just going to school, and it's not things that they really love doing. And so when they're done, it's like, okay, now what do I really enjoy doing? And then they haven't been doing that at all. You know, they haven't spent the hours it takes to make that your craft. And so I think for anyone listening, I just feel like it's hugely important for you to just try things, figure out what you like,
find what you love,
and just focus on that.
Something that we always talk about is you know, if you had $1 billion in the bank right now, all jokes aside, like if you had $1 billion and you no longer needed to worry about money, what would you be doing right now? You know, or what would you do that you wouldn't be like, oh, well, if money was right, you know, what would you
to have fun?
What would you have fun
not
doing?
Traveling, maybe though. I can't say that, because maybe somebody loves traveling. And I don't know.
Or maybe you just like to talk about Star Wars,
or be a teacher.
Maybe that's your thing. You know, find out how you can make money because you can make money in any way.
Especially now.
You know, I mean, we're looking at YouTubers who create little review channels, right? Where a movie comes out and then they give their thoughts on it, and they've got 5 million subscribers, and that's how they generate their money.
Or they buy random products on Amazon and just try them. Just try them.
Right.
Like, this is stupid because of this reason, and they, you know, like. I mean, you're exactly right. I feel like anything can become profitable. I think there are some dumb paths that people can take though. But I think it's also,
hey man, I won't even say that, because think about, there was a pet rock in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
It's the stupidest idea, but it made so much money.
Yeah.
You know, so there's always a way to make money for sure.
Yeah.
Getting back on track real quick to Planet 13. I gotta ask, I don't know if you know, how did that company come up with that name, Planet 13, and what's the meaning behind it?
So we, I don't know if you've ever seen the Medizin logo. So talked a little bit about Medizin in the past, but that's our premium in-house brand. That brand was a dispensary before, and that's kind of what started our.
So real quick, it's gone now?
No, it's a branded product now.
Okay, so
the dispensary itself is no longer there. Okay. It's just a brand. So when we had that dispensary, we experienced a lot of people going up there and saying, oh, this is medical only, right? It's medicine. It's medical only. Like, no, we're recreational. Anybody can buy. And, oh, okay, I didn't know that. I was going to go to another location. I was going to, you know, people didn't connect the dots that, hey, we were medical before and we have a medical focus, but we're it's still also a recreational brand. So that didn't connect the dots. So for us, when things went recreational, we wanted to remedy that by creating a recreational brand. If you ever look at the Medicine logo, it's an M with a line underneath. As you tilt it to the side, it turns into a 13. And that was done on purpose. There's a significance for that. Our one of our co-CEOs, Larry, when he was growing up, 13 is the, M is the 13th letter of the alphabet. People back in his heyday would wear patches or put a logo M on their back of their car, just basically saying that they smoked marijuana. That it was,
wow.
Yeah, an indication that they were users or
that's interesting.
They love marijuana, right? And so it's the letter M or the 13 they would represent. And so we wanted the M and 13 to kind of coincide with the future brand. And we had huge dreams and aspirations for us to be the biggest on planet Earth or biggest on the planet. And so then we transitioned to Planet 13. And,
well, you guys have the square footage to be your own planet, pretty much.
I know.
Yeah. It feels like a planet when you're on there.
Yeah. I still got to go check it out, man, because it looks like especially when you told me it was based around user experience or kind of like customer experience, it makes me want to go even more, you know. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily to buy any products or whatever, but just check it out, you know. And I think people should go to just check it out, because even if they're not into smoking weed or anything like that, people should always be curious about things, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, experience something new.
And the concept is really cool and unique. And I think it's something that we're looking to add to, and that's why we went with phase 2, and we'll have enough room to do a phase 3. And that's kind of the excitement. And we're going to continue to try to build that property up, and also expand to other locations and other states, and really grow this brand beyond borders. So
outside of just growing the business, what are some short-term versus long-term goals that Planet 13 has for the future?
Yeah, I think short-term right now is phase 2.
Yep.
We're really focused also on our branded products, and refining those. And then long-term I know you said besides those, it's really expanding our company. So it's building multiple retail locations and building those locations in a larger dispensary setting, but something that's gauged around experience. And I think the tech side of things is what we really love. We just love the idea of robotics and dispensaries and all this cool kind of things. And I think with some of our tech, will always stand out, even if it is a smaller location. But for us, we're in such uncharted territory that we're seeing brands being really powerful. Retail also is really powerful because you can kind of control the price in the market. But nobody is really the staple brand yet. So when you think of a chocolate bar in some of these states or cities,
Hershey's.
Yeah.
That's my first one.
Yeah, right one, right? But you can name a bunch of regular chocolate bars at a gas station. You can't do that with marijuana yet. Right. And so my personal goal is to develop product lines that are those names that you say right off the cusp like that. You can name drop instantly, and that's one of our brands, right? So when you say, oh, what's a cool dispensary? Planet 13. What's a good chocolate bar? X brand, this brand. Or what's a good vape? This brand. You can name drop that
be
instantly.
The staple of that.
Yeah, I'm trying to create a staple.
Yeah.
And I will say this too, is one of the things that I personally like in a brand is when you don't necessarily associate it with whatever it sells, right? So you're not like, you guys aren't like marijuanadispensary.com. You're not like that. That's not what your brand is. Your brand is Planet 13. It could be anything. When you think of Nike, you don't think of, there's no shoe that's a Nike. Nike's a brand, right?
Yeah.
The shoe's just what they sell, but they can do shirts. They can do all these different things. That's one of the biggest things that I thought about when we were creating this podcast. Like Morning Dinner, you wouldn't necessarily think it's a podcast, right? And it's not brand. It's flexible. It's flexible. Yeah. So that is one of the things that I really like about Planet 13.
And with our brand on the retail space is we can still have some resonance in the tech experience, right? But there's so much. I mean, we got our orb show from Germany, we got the floor from the UK, we got all these different installations from all over the world. But you don't think just one thing, right? When you think of Planet 13, you don't think just laser spray cans, right? You think of the idea of what it encompasses. Yeah. And so I think that's really important too, as we expand, is that idea remains constant, and the installations within. No,
I definitely love it, because it's what you want. It's like a gimmick, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a bad word, but I like that word just due to the fact that, like, you know, you go to that one milkshake spot that makes those milkshakes that stand, like, you're going to go check it out because you're just like, what the fuck? Like, I have to see this. Yeah. You know, but you can take photos of it and everything. And it's an experience that you'll never get. And a lot of people want that as well. You know, it's exclusivity.
We, one of our co-CEOs always says this, is we want to out Vegas, right? And so we wanted to create a Vegas attraction that you can't go to Vegas without coming to Planet 13. That's, right. I mean, you almost didn't succeed in your trip, right? And the best thing is when I see people comment, like we just had a BuzzFeed feature and Forbes and all these other things, right? And I just go to the comments because I'm interested. It's like, oh, they tag their friend and say, I can't believe we didn't go there when we were in town last week. We got to go there next month when we go back in town. I can't, like, they're like mad that they didn't go there. Like they didn't make the time for it. And that's so rewarding. Now
that you mentioned that, there's one other place that I think about when I think about Vegas. You ever seen have you ever seen the show Pawn Stars? I have a lot of family that visits Vegas, and they go, can we go to that place that's, you know, that where they do the pawn you know, it's not necessarily because they want to buy or sell anything.
You ever been there?
Yeah.
I have, yeah.
I haven't been.
It's not super impressive. It's like a small little place.
It's a pawn place.
It's a pawn store, exactly. But the fact that it's on television makes it somewhere that people want to go, because you know, they want to see Rick or you know,
there's lines out the door still.
Oh,
bro, like every time I pass by it, I'm like, yo,
they converted half the space into like clothing and merchandise.
That's so dope.
Inside?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the container part?
No, inside, half of it is like actually things that you can buy, like that are pawned out, right? And then the other half is like t-shirts and a thing where you can take a photo in front of, and you have to pay $5 to get your photo taken. Like it transformed, but still people are lining up around the door, because at the end of the day, their marketing efforts in that show has created immense success for them.
Right. Dude, what are some marketing things that you think you could do for Planet 13 to increase that type of engagement, or kind of incentivize that outside of Las Vegas, right? Because I mean, I don't know if there's a way to do that, because I guess marijuana still is illegal federally. You can't really have a TV show that's, you know, marketed everywhere in the U.S. HBO. On TV.
Right.
I don't know. I'm thinking, like, what if you guys had a podcast? What if you guys had a show on YouTube or something like that, where it would be, we've done a pretty good job at getting a lot of coverage for publications. So a lot of the massive publications have featured us, and we're really thankful of that. But I think that's a huge component of branching out, is some of those publications and getting featured in some of those articles that talk about destination type conversation.
Like
so
10 best dispensaries.
What to do in Las Vegas when you come, you know, as us being featured with Seeing the Bellagio Fountains, it's like pretty cool. Yeah. Right. We're on that list, you know, and when people talk about, I mean, just the other day we got featured on the BuzzFeed article, and there's already over 1 million views on that, right? You know, and some of that stuff you can't put a price tag on, right? And it's about really just telling our story and PR pitching constantly, to let people know, because there's so many millions of people that don't know what Planet 13 is, and that's what I try to hit every time. And just advertising doesn't necessarily do that, right? That doesn't make you successful, but allowing some of these publications to understand your story and where you're coming from and where you're going has been a huge part of our success. So to say that we have a pizzeria and restaurant going into our facility from an award-winning pizza chef who already runs a successful operation in Arizona who's doing this, right?
Damn, I want pizza right now.
Yeah.
See, it's working.
So you could buy a joint and buy a slice, right?
Right.
That concept is mind blowing to certain people and certain reporters, and they just want to do a full story on just that, right? And so always finding that strategy and PR pitching has been huge for us.
Right. I think you guys are on a dope track. You guys are doing a lot for the amount of time that you guys have been open.
Yeah, killing it.
And I really do look forward to everything you guys have going on. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about all this stuff. You really educated us on a lot of different things. And I think people are going to take away a lot of stuff from this episode, man. Real quick, do you want to let people know before we wrap up where people can find you? Because we got to actually head out pretty soon. I think we're at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
Low key.
Good talk.
Do you want to let people know where they can find you, find more information on Planet 13 or even your personal social media stuff?
Yeah, you can learn more about Planet 13 at planet13lasvegas.com, on Instagram at shopplanet13. You can also find my Instagram at David Farris, Farris.
Fantastic, man.
There you go, man. Thank you for joining us, bro.
Yeah,
we'll put all your social media down in the description too for the video and the podcast on iTunes and Spotify. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys at the next morning dinner.
Later, y'all.
Every time I come in the kitchen, you in the kitchen. In the goddamn refrigerator.
I sure am hungry.